Good evening and welcome to the Paxmundi show on Darkcity Radio. Every Thursday evening, 7 p.m. GMT, the Paxmundi show. With war, peace and resistance news. If you've got anything to say, chat or call in live, Skype on Bob's Backyard or phone in on 0161 298 0298. If you're not in the UK, that's plus 44 161 298 0298. Starting with the news, the US and Russia are still failing to agree on the date or terms for the Syria conference. They continue to be split over the crisis in Syria, and a recent round of talks in Geneva on Tuesday this week ended with no agreement on when to hold an international peace conference and who to invite. The two sides have clashed over whether to include Iran in the talks and which parties would represent the Syrian opposition. The UN envoy to Syria, Lakhdar Brahimi, who's also envoy from the Arab League, which is already recognising the Syrian opposition as the de facto government of Syria. He said differences among Syrian rebels would delay any potential conference, at least through July, stating, I doubt whether the conference will take place in July. The opposition they are meeting. The next meeting, I think, is on the 4th and 5th of July, so I don't think they will be ready. According to the UN, more than 93,000 people have died and some 1.7 million people have been displaced since the conflict started. Meanwhile, the preparations for war are ongoing. The Wall Street Journal reports that the US has begun shipping arms to the Syrian rebels. They state the CIA has begun moving weapons to a network of secret warehouses to Jordan, and they plan to start arming Syrian rebel groups within a month. In the US, the government has denied compassionate release for the jailed civil rights attorney Lynn Stewart. This is one case that I've previously discussed at length. Lynn Stewart, a 73-year-old imprisoned grandmother who is currently fighting stage 4 cancer, has been imprisoned on a life sentence for allegedly making press releases on behalf of her jailed client, Egyptian cleric Omar Abdelrahman, also known as the Blind Sheikh, who is serving a life sentence for allegedly conspiring to blow up New York City landmarks in 1995. I think that was the Twin Towers. Now, Lynn Stewart has, she's got this advanced stage cancer. She's asking to be released, compassionate release, due to the advanced stage of her condition, so that she can undergo cancer treatment. But in a very cynical response, the Federal Bureau of Prisons has denied her bid for release on the grounds that her health is improving, so they state. Statement from Lynn Stewart yesterday. She stated she's disappointed but not devastated. My dear friends, supporters, comrades, I know we are all disappointed to the marrow of our bones and the depth of our hearts by the news that the bureaucrats, Kafka-like, have turned down my request for compassionate release. Let me say we are planning ahead. The letter from the Federal Bureau of Prisons Director is flawed, to put it mildly, both factually and medically. It has major problems. We intend to go to court and raise these in front of my sentencing judge, Coelton. At the first sentencing, he responded to a query by one of the lawyers that he didn't want me to die in prison. Well, we'll see if he can live up to that. Meanwhile, fight on, all of us or none of us. An affront to one is an affront to all. In Iraq, the sectarian bombings are ongoing. At least 41 people died Monday in further bomb blasts in and around Baghdad and to the north of the capital. The attacks came as a part of the wave of sectarian violence that has now killed more than 2,000 people since April. In Brazil, where there's been wide-scale protesting and demonstrations, civil unrest, initially over the issues of people being displaced by the World Cup preparations and an increase in bus fares. This has seen widespread demonstrations across all major cities in Brazil, and the Brazilian president has responded by unveiling changes to try to appease the protester. The president, Dilma Rousseff, has proposed a series of political changes aimed at appeasing the protests against political corruption and failing public services. The changes include investing more than 20 billion in public transport. And meanwhile, as the protest continued on Monday this week, 2 women were fatally struck by a car while blocking a highway in the capital, Brasilia, bringing the total number killed in the protests so far to 4. In Turkey, the Turkish police have reported that they've arrested a further 20 people in raids in the capital, Ankara, in connection with the weeks of widespread anti-government protests. Meanwhile, a police officer who allegedly fatally shot a protester has been released by a court on the grounds the shooting was in self-defense. The ruling has sparked further outrage, particularly because a video of the shooting went viral online. The video appears to show a police officer firing his gun and then running away. In the US, an Iraq war veteran's suicide letter has described the trauma of war and how he felt he'd been abandoned by the US government. The website Gorkas published the suicide note of an Iraq war veteran who took his own life because he said of the trauma that the war in Iraq had left him in constant mental and physical agony. But Daniel Summers had been diagnosed with traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other conditions related to the war. He was involved in hundreds of combat missions as a machine gunner, and he carried out also interrogations as part of an intelligence team in Baghdad. Later, he worked with the Joint Special Operations Command as a senior analyst. In the letter, he writes to his family before he killed himself. I was made to participate in things during my first deployment, the enormity of which is hard to describe. War crimes, crimes against humanity, though I did not participate willingly and made what I thought was my best effort to stop these events. There are some things that a person simply cannot come back from. I take some pride in actually to move on in life after being part of such a thing would be the mark of a sociopath in my mind. These things go far beyond what most are even aware of. To force me to do these things and then participate in the ensuing cover-up is more than any government has the right to demand. Then the same government has turned around and abandoned me. He continued to write, any blame rests with them. He killed himself on June the 10th, and he was only 30 years old. In Pakistan, gunmen killed 11 at a mountain camp, a climbing camp. This was carried out by the Pakistani Taliban in retaliation for a US drone strike. The US drone strike had killed the Taliban deputy chief, Wali Rahman, and 6 other people, and this was the motivation for the killing. The Pakistani Taliban told the Associated Press, by killing foreigners, we want to give the message to the world to play their role in bringing an end to the drone attacks. In occupied Palestine, Israel launched airstrikes on Gaza after there were rocket attacks this week. Israel launched airstrikes on the Gaza Strip in retaliation for rocket fire from the Palestinian side. The Israeli army said it had targeted weapon storage facilities and a rocket launch site. It said 2 of the rockets fired from Gaza were intercepted by its missile defense system, Iron Dome, while the others landed in open areas, causing no damage or casualties. In the occupied West Bank, the new Prime Minister, Palestinian Authority Prime Minister, Rami Hamdallah, has now resigned after less than 3 weeks after he was appointed. He gave his resignation to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, and generally he'd been selected to replace the outgoing Salam Fayyad. Clearly, the authority is in a very poor condition to be negotiating with Secretary of State John Kerry, who's due to arrive in Israel next week. The Friends of Syria, so-called Friends of Syria, are pledging military aid to the rebels. The Arab and Western countries opposed to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad have agreed to provide military aid to the rebels during a meeting this week in Doha, Qatar. In a statement, 11 countries of the Friends of Syria group pledged to provide urgently all the necessary material and equipment to the opposition on the ground. They also condemned the intervention on Assad's side of the militant group Hezbollah. US Secretary of State John Kerry stated, "What is clear is that every country committed today to step up what it is doing in direct response to what has happened on the ground, and also what is different is that this is now in response to what Iran and Hezbollah are doing." Meanwhile, the fighting is continuing in the northern Syrian city of Aleppo and in the capital of Damascus. The fighting from Syria has spread to Lebanon, where Sunni militias who are followers of the Sunni cleric Ahmed al-Assir have organized themselves and are attacking both the Lebanese army positions and other ethnic militias in the capital. The future of the Afghan peace talks now seem uncertain. Last week I was telling you about the peace talks which have been organised to take place in Doha between the US and the Taliban. These talks are now off because President Karzai has objected to the talks. So he's objecting to them using the name the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which was the name of their government and is the name that they continue to use. So here we are with less than 6 months to 2014, when the departure of the US and other foreign troops is supposed to end, and the peace negotiations are not happening. At Guantanamo prison, a prisoner said the Obama administration has become increasingly brutal in its attempts to break a hunger strike by more than 100 of the Guantanamo's 166 prisoners. British resident Shaka Amir, who has been cleared for release from Guantanamo twice in the past 6 years, told the legal charity Reprieve that the Guantanamo authorities, the military, are making the cells freezing cold and employing metal-tipped feeding tubes that cause the prisoners to vomit during the twice daily forced feedings. In the interview, Amir said one prisoner had a tube pushed into his lungs instead of his stomach, causing him to cough blood. He said, "The administration is getting ever more angry and doing everything they can to break our hunger strike. Honestly, I wish I was dead." A new report from the World Bank this week is warning that global warming will devastate the world poor. The report has stated that the 2 degrees Celsius rise in global temperature will trap millions of people in poverty and devastation in the coming decades. World Bank President Jim Yong Kim said unless global warming can be slowed, rising temperatures will wreak havoc on poor communities in sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia and Southeast Asia. He stated, in a 2 degrees Celsius warmer world, the Earth will have fundamentally changed. The way that the Earth processes water will have changed, and so we'll have droughts that will be devastating. We'll have floods that will put cities in danger. And there will be fundamental issues around the ability of poor people to sustain themselves. The thing I worry most about is a 2 degrees Celsius world, which could be upon us as early as the 2030s and 2040s. In the US, the FBI has now admitted that they are using drones to carry out domestic surveillance in the US. They are under questioning by Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of the Senate Judiciary Committee. FBI Director Robert Mueller confirmed the domestic use of drones, but called it very seldom. He also said the Bureau is still drafting regulations to address privacy concerns. In Somalia this week, 22 people were killed in a militant attack that's by Al-Shabaab on the UN compound in Somalia's capital of Mogadishu. The fighters raided the compound with guns after setting off a car bomb. Al-Shabaab group has claimed responsibility and is threatening further attacks. Back to the FBI in the US, it's just been noted that looking at the FBI's internal investigations into fatal shootings by FBI agents, it has been found that in every single fatal shooting incident, dating back the last 20 years, from 1993 until today, the agents have been cleared. And this is a total of, out of 289 shootings, none were found to be deliberate. This, of course, includes the recent shooting of the Chechen person, Todashev, a contact of the alleged Boston bombers, who was shot by the FBI while they were interrogating him in his own flat. He was unarmed. So yesterday, June 26, was the official International Day in support of the victims of torture. Under UN Resolution 52149, this called for the commemoration of June the 26th as International Day in support of the victims of torture, in order to inform world public opinion of the need to end torture. Help victims of torture and ensure the implementation of the UN Convention Against Torture and other cruel and degrading treatment of prisoners. Yesterday, the Centre for the Study of Palestinian Prisoners reported that 71 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli prisons after being tortured. They also reported that they have received over 900 other cases of former prisoners who state that they were tortured by the Israeli state. Additionally, the use of force by the Israeli security services has threatened the lives of over 5,000 Palestinians in Israel. It was recently confirmed a case of Arafat Jaradat, who was detained in the Israeli Megiddo prison on February the 23rd. He died. The cause of death was torture. The Centre for the Study of Palestinian Prisoners report that Israel has not sanctioned or brought to justice any of those responsible for these crimes. That is because the Israeli state supports the use of torture and violence against the Palestinian people. Since 2011, the Israeli Supreme Court approved the use of violence when it guaranteed immunity from punishment for interrogators who use torture and violence to obtain information from Palestinian prisoners who represent a danger to Israeli security. Now we're just going to have a short music break. We're going to listen to Just Another Day in Baghdad by Aidan Jolly. We'll be back shortly.
Thursday morning in the crowded market, the bomb burst across the traders' stalls. So close they never heard the sound that killed them, the fist-crushing flowers and darkness falls. All they wanted was food for their children, all they wanted was a job with pay, all they wanted was to get home safe, but Baghdad, it's just another day. Thursday morning in the crowded carriage, the bomb burst through the tunnel walls. So close they never heard the sound that killed them, fist-crushing flowers and darkness falls. All they wanted was to get to work, all they wanted was to earn their pay. Agony captured on 1,000 mobiles, London's making the news today. summit is rudely broken. Helicopter blades begin to turn. From a safe distance the cameras gather. There are speeches to make and points to earn. Standing firm, shoulder to shoulder, leaders pose behind police lines. Suspects are hunted and heroes are found. And in Baghdad and London, life goes on. And it's business as usual in the city of London. It's business as usual at the Baghdad gate. It's business as usual in the halls of the mighty. But the board of directors, profits won't wait. What's the price of a life in a Baghdad market? What's the price of a life in an underground train? Dearer by far than the price of peace. But to the board of directors it's a fair exchange. In Baghdad they cry for their sons and daughters. In London they cry for their sons and daughters. In New York they cry for their sons and daughters. In Madrid they cry for their sons and daughters. In Chechnya they cry for their sons and daughters. In Testland they cry for their sons and daughters. In Sudan they cry for their sons and daughters. In Gaza they cry for their sons and daughters. Sons and daughters. Sons and daughters. Sons and daughters, sons and daughters.
Welcome back to the Paxmundi show. Next item I'm going to talk about is the UK intelligence gathering system. Now, I'm sure everybody's been following the case of Edward Snowden, the manhunt that's going on for him, following his whistleblowing against the US NSA. Now, one of the things that hasn't got a lot of notice here in the UK is that Edward Snowden actually said that the UK was worse than the US. And now, at a time when the UK government is currently making spending cuts, cutting back on all areas of government, it is very noticeable that the UK intelligence agencies are actually going to receive an increase in their budget. So the Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, this week announced a review of public spending, which is reducing government spending overall to cut the deficit. They are overall making cuts of 17 billion. Yet the intelligence agencies are to receive a 3.4% increase. This is going to increase their existing budget to 2.9 billion. That is for GCHQ, MI5 and or MI6, and the ISI. Now, GCHQ at Cheltenham, which is based at Cheltenham in Gloucestershire, has massively extended its already controversial storing and analysis of global communications. Now, this has been going on for over 30 years under the Echelon system, which was originally established by the English-speaking states. That's under a treaty called AUSCAN. That's AUS for Australia, CAN, Canada, NZ for New Zealand, UK and US, plus the Netherlands. As I say, for over 30 years, this surveillance of all communications has been going on at GCHQ. The information, much of it is retrieved at a US establishment at Menwith Hill. This is a British base, but it's under US command, and that was in a way how the US has got round carrying out domestic surveillance, because they carried it out here. They got the British to do their dirty work for them as usual. Now, here in Britain, one of the things I'm really, I won't say, well, disappointed about is the lack of any kind of anger about, this massive surveillance that is going on here. And one of the many responses that you get from people, from the apathetic or, complacent is, well, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. Well, I personally, I'd go along with Terry Pratchett, who wrote in his novel in Snuff that the innocent have everything to fear, mostly from the guilty, but in the longer term, even more from those who say things like, the innocent have nothing to fear. So for many people, the personal issue of personal privacy against the widespread surveillance that we now know that we have, this has been a major issue for those who know or care for decades. However, most people have chosen to downplay it, many people don't want to know, or either they just don't care. Now, I think that Edward Snowden's recent revelations have brought this back onto the agenda, and it's something that we need to be talking about. So he's been talking about the GCHQ, that's Government Communications Headquarters. It is the British equivalent to the NSA, or National Security Agency. And just last week, Snowden released documents to back up his claims that GCHQ has secretly accessed fibre optic cables carrying huge amounts of internet and communications data. Snowden told the Guardian newspaper, it's not just a US problem, the UK has a huge dog in this fight. They are worse than the US. I believe we've got a... we may have a caller, so if anybody is out there and you want to call in, just Skype on Bob's Backyard, or phone on 0161 298 0298. So, although it's actually physically impossible for the intelligence agencies to read all of our emails, it's not practical, but GCHQ can actually record all phone calls, emails, Facebook postings, and website traffic. They have the capability to do this. They can also access entire web use histories for individuals. We're informed that they only store most data for 30 days. And we are informed by the government that this is actually subject to some kind of scrutiny, though that we have no details on that. So the GCHQ can tap cables that carry global communications with the potential to carry 600 million daily telephone calls, for example. So Nick Pickles, Big Brother Watch director, states if GCHQ have been intercepting huge numbers of innocent people's communications as a part of a massive sweeping exercise, then I struggle to see how that squares with a process that requires a warrant for each individual intercept. Clearly, they already have all of the information. They have access to all of our information. So this massive interception effort operates under two programs. This is Mastering the Internet and Global Telecoms Exploitation. GCHQ is tapping 200 internet links, each with a data rate of 10 gigabyte per second, and the agency has technical capacity to concurrently analyze 46 of these 200 streams of data at a time. The revelations come alongside reports that the NSA are also looking at individuals, citizens' metadata that is held by the telecommunication companies, and the secret data sharing agreements between the NSA and the consumer web giants such as Facebook, Google, Apple, and others under the PRISM scheme. I know in the US they have a lot of different networks. The one that was initially exposed was Verizon, but they've got AT&T and a lot of other private networks. I think here in the UK most of the network is BT, and or it's actually going through BT equipment, and therefore it is going to be that much easier for the British government to spy on us. And also so Britain and the US are the founding members of what I was talking about before, this treaty between the English-speaking nations. It's called the Five Eyes Club. Apparently, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, that's the US, UK, and the Netherlands. Now, according to The Guardian, which was briefed by Snowden, Britain's ability to tap these fibre optic cables makes it the web eavesdropping powerhouse of this Five Eyes Club. And that Britain has the biggest internet access, we're informed. So, so I was talking before about Menwith Hill. This refers to RAF Menwith Hill. This is a secret intelligence signals gathering facility up in Yorkshire. I've actually been there once. We did actually have a demo, and we tried to somehow sabotage it by flying all these kites with aluminium outside. I don't think it worked, but it sounded like a good idea at the time. So the idea was if we flew all these kites with aluminium streamers on them, you know, it would somehow sabotage their operation. So it was a good day out, though. You will have seen them if you've ever been to North Yorkshire. They are they're like big golf balls. They're in the middle of the moors, and they are enormous big golf balls. So GCHQ operatives tapped the fibre optic cables over the last 5 years at the point where these are transatlantic cables come into Britain. Now these cables move all of the internet and telephone data from the US to Europe, and vice versa. And all of this was done with the agreements of the communications companies, who are described in the documents as intercept partners. So Britain and the US are rapidly perfecting this system that allows them to capture and analyse a large quantity of international traffic. That's emails, text, phone calls, internet searches, chat, photographs, blog posts, videos, and Google searches. Writing in The Guardian on last Friday, Henry Porter stated, "Mastering the internet treats the rights of billions of foreign web users, the possible menace to the privacy of British and American citizens, and the duties of their legislators with equal contempt. After Iraq and the banking crash, the world may come to see MTI as further evidence of a heedless delinquency in two of the world's oldest democracies." So what they've been talking about in The Guardian is the lack of meaningful oversight in these countries, the also use of outsourcing of the surveillance process, and the wholesale disregard for the fundamentals of both countries' democratic principles. Shami Chakrabarti, director of civil rights organisation Liberty, says that GCHQ are exploiting the fact that the internet is so international in nature, and that's what's holding them back and from going further is technological capability. It's certainly not ethics. So just to recap, really, that the system that the US and the UK have developed in the UK allows them to pretty much monitor all of the traffic in the North American continent and Europe, and they have other parts of this Five Eyes system, which is monitoring traffic in Australia and New Zealand. Do we have a caller there? No. Okay. I think we're getting to the near to the end of the show now, so I'm just kind of going to try and wrap it up. But basically, what they're doing is they are capturing all of this data. They are holding it for a very short period, and while they have it, they then run it through this these machines that pick up what they look at. They are either targeting individuals, so they will have lists of individuals that and companies that they will be intercepting, and they will retrieve and keep that data. The other way that they operate is through trip words. This is how the Echelon has operated for the last 30 years, using trip words. You know, the obvious ones, you know, would be, you know, if you're saying, you know, jihad or, you know, bomb and things like this, you know, or even, you know, other less, you know, controversial things. But that if you say these trip words, then they will retrieve that information and they will store it for longer so that they can analyze it. So, really, why does this matter? You know, what are we, you know, going to do about it? I think the first thing is to talk about it, you know, and to be aware of it, and to try to nudge these people who believe that we've got nothing to be frightened of. You know, if we're innocent. So there you have it. That is the British GCHQ, and you know, the eavesdropping that's going on here. So whatever you're hearing about the US, it's worse in the UK, says Edward Snowden, and he is a man who should know. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of the show now. Thanks for listening, and be sure to tune in again to the Paxmundi show on Darkcity Radio.
Absolutely.